Now, the interesting thing about silver at this particular moment is that the prices have started to break out to the upside. Once they start to break out to the upside, if it extends like another dollar higher, you'll see that kind of Reddit army, the YOLO crowd, they'll migrate over. They'll sell some of their Bitcoin. They'll roll that into something like silver that looks like it's breaking out.
This week's special with Miles Franklin Precious Metal Investments. 1 ounce silver Krugerrands for only $3.95 over spot. Call us at 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237. Hey everyone, this is Elijah K. Johnson with Liberty and Finance. And back with us today is Phil Streible from Blue Line Futures. Phil, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Definitely. And what I first wanted to discuss is, the Fed taper and the infrastructure bill, how those two things really impacted the markets last week.
Well, the infrastructure bill, that being signed, had created some confidence in the markets. So we're continuing to see equities push on to new record highs. And then also all the commodities across the board are continuing to move up. We saw an underlying bid in copper and then also platinum, some of these key commodities that revolve around infrastructure. As far as the tapering was concerned, we saw a sell-off in the metals coming into the announcement. However, after that, it quickly caught a bid. And it seemed like the Fed really did an excellent job being quite dovish despite tapering.
It was very interesting, the market's reaction, because we saw a $15 billion taper, but we saw gold and silver and the stock market all rise, and they're continuing to rally as we speak Monday morning.
The media, the mainstream media, has tried to build this, narrative around a few different events like the Delta wave tapering, also the Evergrande news, to build some fear in the markets and kind of create, a liquidation scare in the U.S. equities. And I think that, finally they're starting to see that each one of these narratives that's come out has not had any form of contagion whatsoever, and we see the market continue to propel to new highs on that news.
Do you think this is because we actually have a strong economy, or why do you think at least the stock market is continuing to rise?
Because we know that like all these problems, they seem to be, short-lived. Like we knew that we would turn a curve on the Delta variant. So, COVID case counts come down, you start to see the economy grow. You look at that Evergrande news, you looked at other markets beyond China, things like Germany and Israel, and some of these other stock indices had propelled to new all-time highs despite that news. So there was no contagion there. The Fed's taper, it is an appropriate measure for them to do. There was a little bit of volatility today when they came out and said that they may end the taper sooner than next June, and then also 2 interest rate hikes next year. But I think that it just reaffirms the strength of the economy right now.
Why do you think the Fed is continuing to have to stimulate the economy at all if the economy is so strong?
Oh, they can't just like completely, disconnect the plug. They're not cutting the cable at all. They're going to slowly taper out. The problem is that you have a lot of economies around the globe that are still pretty sensitive, and they don't want to see it to be a domino effect. So, in the U.S., they don't want to derail the current uptrend too on U.S. equities. So it is being completely propped up by the Fed and the Fed's policies.
Moving to precious metals, as we see them rally, as we saw them rally last week and continuing to rally Monday morning, your perspective on where they're headed? I'm
not fully convinced yet on gold. Gold's taken me to the altar and walked away, 3, 4, 5 times on this. When we get up in this 1815, 1835, I'm going to need to see at least a couple day closes, beyond like 1840 to really be turning bullish on it. We'll buy some call options for people. We'll also buy some of the smaller, futures contracts. So they do have some exposure, but very limited on the risk. We are not going to let it trade below $1,800 and stay within there and end up riding this thing back down again. A lot of it hinges on the yield curve. If the yield curve does start to steepen again, especially on the long end of the curve, that will put pressure on gold. Silver, it's unfortunate that it's been so interconnected with gold, but I think silver looks more constructive on the charts and we do like platinum to the upside, and also copper is starting to turn around after its recent sell-off.
Can you expand on why silver, platinum, and copper are looking more bullish than gold at the moment?
Yeah, I think that they're more on the infrastructure side. They're more green energy. There's been more initiative around it. They haven't been so sensitive to, Fed policy, where gold is directly, gold is a currency. It's going to be affected by the steepening yield curve. You might see silver demand, platinum demand, or copper demand all pick up. Copper's sold off recently because of weakness over in China. They've gone into kind of a stalling growth, rising inflation environment, and that's hit the copper market. But the copper inventories remain quite tight. Similarly with platinum. And platinum, we believe, has one of the best opportunities it's especially with catalytic converters. If you start to see some of these supply chain issues be resolved, you'll see an increase in demand from auto manufacturers. They'll turn on their assembly plants again, and they'll quickly snatch up all the platinum they can at these lower levels.
I just interviewed Lobo Tigre from the Independent Speculator, and he was talking about how it seems like silver, the role for silver is shifting, at least in the public's view. It was more of a monetary metal along with gold, but now it's seen as mainly just industrial metal. Your perspective on that, do you think silver is kind of not being seen as that safe haven monetary metal that gold is?
I mean, there is a lot of competition for what that title is, whether it's like a Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency, what type of investor is driving into silver. They might be, if they're in it for like the YOLO, it's going to $50, they might be better off chasing something else at the moment. Like people are going for these altcoins like Shiba and things like that. I mean, my phone's blowing up with all my buddies, getting rich quick off of all these other products, and silver is just not there. So, it is true. And I respect him a lot in his commentary with regards to, some of the metals and some of his ideas. It is accurate that silver is more of that green energy. That's what could really drive prices. If you see green energy initiative really take off and that demand come in, and you still have supply chains issues from, some of the mining operations out there, it could cause a physical squeeze.
I know you've talked about before how silver from this point, it seems like a very good bet because there's a low downside potential, but there's high upside potential in your mind. You've said that silver could double easily. And I guess if we do look forward, some people have talked about triple-digit silver. What are the likelihoods of those numbers?
I think that would be pretty tough, because then you would get to where the cost of whatever the product silver is going into is going to go up. They'll create demand destruction. They'll look for alternative metals that may be cheaper. So you got to take this thing one thing at a time. We got to recapture $30, $35, things like that. Now, the interesting thing about silver at this particular moment is that the prices have started to break out to the upside. Once they start to break out to the upside, if it extends like another dollar higher, or starts getting these 1%, 2% moves each day, you'll see that kind of Reddit army, the YOLO crowd, they'll migrate over. They'll sell some of their Bitcoin at the the high end of the range, 66, 67,000. They'll roll that into, they understand compounding wealth. They'll roll that into something like silver that looks like it's breaking out. And then if you get that breakout, they could continue to compound their wealth. So silver, like I said, very particular and interesting spot right here on price.
Definitely. And as we look into the end of the year, what are your expectations for both gold and silver?
Man, I'd love to see gold just hang on 1,800, get above 1,840 and break out to the upside. I don't see $2,100 gold by any means, but it'd be nice if we started to threaten 1,900 by the end of the year. All of this hinges on the yield curve. Silver, on the other hand, if it could really attract that buying interest, get the breakout, I mean, we could see something like $28, $29 silver pretty easy. Well, the way we position with our clients, just in case you do get the breakout, we bought March silver. We bought the $26 call. We sold the $29 call against it. So it costs 40 cents. Which is $2,000. Your max gain is $15,000 less what you pay for it. So we like that bet. We like the amount of time on it.
And if we do look at also the mining stocks, do you see opportunity there at the moment?
I like miners, but I like the principle behind them. However, I don't like the fact that the biggest cost for a miner is energy and labor costs and insurance, and all those things are going higher, which will affect the profitability. So you're too hinged on, you need, the price of metal to continue to perform in order for the miner to perform. People like them because, they like the story behind it or who the CEO is, but they all have the same challenges. They have to put gas in the equipment. They've got to put oil, and those are breaking out to new highs. All the costs of everything are going up. So they're really their profitability is going to compress as time goes on.
Well, Phil Streible, we really appreciate your time and insights today. Before we let you go, did you want to share with the viewers any last thoughts you had and where people can find you online?
Yeah, if you want to check us out, we got a great, we give a 2-week trial on our flagship report, the Morning Express. Comes out to your email box every day that the market's open. And we cover the precious metals in there. So we give you some good actionable trade ideas. And you can find us at www.bluelinefutures.com.
All right. Once again, Phil, thank you so much for your time, and God bless.
Thank you.
This is Dunnigan Kaiser, founder of Liberty and Finance. I'm now a licensed gold and silver broker for Miles Franklin. Call me directly for the physical gold and silver that you need at the best price with personalized private service from one of the oldest and best companies in the business. 31 years strong, A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, 0 complaints, licensed and bonded. For physical delivery, vault storage, or precious metals IRAs, excellent prices, privacy, and confidentiality. Pay by check, money order, ACH, bank wire, or Bitcoin. Satisfaction guaranteed. For fastest service, just call 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 888-81-LIBERTY. And either I or one of my sons and fellow brokers will call you back as soon as we can and understand your needs.